I've already talked a lot about Shining Force, especially about how the series became something completely different nowadays. But now it's time to talk about another legendary RPG franchise by Sega that doesn't seem to get much love these days either. I am obviously talking about Phantasy Star. I am sure that anyone knows about the extremely successful online spin-off, but you should remember that this was once a traditional offline RPG with an epic storyline. It was also the first RPG to introduce certain elements and mechanics, such as many different story paths across many generations of heroes. There was also a marriage system, with many options of partners to choose from, and different characters depending on the pairings that you choose. Yep, that's right. It not only did this before Fire Emblem and Dragon Quest did, but it also surpassed them, and it was only a Genesis game. In other words, it was a pretty revolutionary series for its time. But now, ever since it went online, it seems like this all became a thing of the past. The super popular Phantasy Star Online prevented the series from being completely forgotten. It even got an anime adaptation, although it's a pretty shit adaptation. And that's because rather than being about the story of the game, it's about people playing the game? Well, that's better than nothing, I guess? Anyway, the only games in the series that still have a campaign are just an extension of the MMORPG, and they don't get nearly as epic as it was before. But at least, all those online games give an option to play offline. Well, except for Phantasy Star Online 2. Which brings us to the main topic of this video, Phantasy Star Nova, for the PlayStation Vita, released in 2014 in Japan, and in 2015 in the Chinese language, but never in English. It was made by the wonderful people at Tri-Ace to compensate the lack of a single-player offline campaign in PSO2. In Phantasy Star Nova, you take control of a new recruit in the Arc Forces. On your first mission, your ship crashes on the planet Makia, where Photon, the main energy source, doesn't seem to work. But fortunately, you and your crew learn how to harvest a new type of energy to replace Photon, the Grand Energy. However, they not only find their nemesis, the darker creatures, but they also come across a completely new type of foe, the monsters known as Gigantes. So, the plot in this game has a little of Star Ocean and also a bit of Xenoblade Chronicles X, even though it isn't as good as any of those. Star Ocean gives you many different civilizations and cultures, as well as many politics and laws when dealing with them.
The gods! The gods have come! Free us from this plague!
Phantasy Star Nova, on the other hand, gives you a desert planet with no civilization or culture whatsoever. For that reason, all the locations in the game look pretty much the same. They are always the same rocky plains with chaotic backgrounds. In Xenoblade Chronicles X, you can build your own city with many customization options. You can also pilot a giant robot. Eventually. Meanwhile, Phantasy Star Nova lets you customize your main base, which isn't nearly as big as New Los Angeles is. And while you can kinda control a Gigantes later in the game, it certainly isn't the same as a giant robot. But hey, at least you are not the main character in both games. Isn't that great? Seriously now, since you also play as a mute and customizable character in Phantasy Star Nova, Lucina's role in the story is to act as your voice. Therefore, she often says what you would want to say during events, asking about the important questions in your place. But at the very least, she doesn't take the lead, and she doesn't steal the spotlight from you either. Plus, she owns a VMU, and that is pretty cool. So, this may be the only thing in which Phantasy Star Nova is actually better than Xenoblade Chronicles X. Maybe. Yeah, probably. As you deal with the generic environments in the game, you will also have to brace yourself for the equally generic characters who become your allies. They have absolutely nothing unique or remarkable about their personalities or character designs. Well, except for the robot chef. He's awesome.
私の出番ですかな。このヒペリオンにお任せあれ。
There is nothing interesting or creative about the battle system either. It's just a very basic action RPG system. You do get to press the attack button at the right time to get critical hits, but that's nothing new for an RPG these days. There are good things about this game though. For example, the graphics are really good. When it comes to visuals, it's one of the best games in the PlayStation Vita library, except for the lip sync.
記憶に問題がなければフィジカルチェックに進み、出撃準備後ブリーフィングに参加してください。ここだけの話、たまに失敗もあるんですよ。それでも大体は大丈夫なんですけどね。
Yep, the lip sync sucks, which for some reason has been pretty usual for most Japanese games nowadays. The voice acting is also top-notch, as expected from Japanese professionals. The character customization is also as good as the one from Phantasy Star Online 2, which means it's excellent.
時間かかりそうだな。もうこのランダムってやつでいいか。お、俺に似てんじゃん。
Yeah, I guess I will do the same thing. I bet it will look just like me. Bullshit! Nevertheless, Phantasy Star Nova comes out as being only mediocre at best. Even though this is a standalone game, it still feels like just an extension of the bigger and more popular MMORPG, which is really depressing, but maybe someday this franchise will get a new epic adventure, like the old Master System and Genesis days. Yeah, at this point, we can only hope. In conclusion, Phantasy Star Nova is a JRPG that you probably won't be able to enjoy unless you understand the Japanese language. And even if you do, it's just an average game, so you're not missing too much. And that's it for this review. But if you got anything to say about Phantasy Star Nova or this franchise itself, just leave a comment. Thank you for watching. Bye!